Dr. Jeff talks love. Dr. Jeff talks life. Answers your questions, cuts through the strife. Sex and intimacy, real and true. Evidence-based, made just for you.
Hello, welcome to Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy, the podcast where we explore anything and everything relevant to sexual health, relationships, and intimacy. Thank you for joining us today live or on the recording. This is episode 37, returning to our authentic selves to improve love and relationships. I want to remind you it is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. And I want to take a moment just to acknowledge the amazing prostate cancer survivors I have had the honor and privilege of knowing. I do run a prostate cancer support group. It's a zero prostate cancer support group, and it's at the amazing Gilda's Club here in Chicago. That is a awesome place for anyone with cancer. Gilda's Club is open to anybody with cancer, but I co-run with James Schrate, a survivor, as well as Clint, a therapist who works at Gilda's Club. We all run the prostate cancer support group there from zero. And that is here in Chicago. And also, I am so grateful for the many men and their partners that I have been able to treat with prostate cancer over my career at Northwestern, at Endeavor North Shore, at Jesse Brown VA Medical Center. It is an honor and a privilege to take care of the men and women that come into my clinic, and I truly appreciate each and every one of them. So prostate cancer is the most common non-skin cancer in men. It affects about 1 in 8 men in their lifetime. It's estimated in 2025 that 313,780 new cases of prostate cancer will occur in the United States this year, by the end of the year. So survival is very high. That's the exciting part. 5-year survival when prostate cancer is caught early, like it typically is because of screening, is 98%, which is amazing and awesome. But the challenge is the most common long-term side effect is sexual dysfunction. And that's why we do the podcast, to help people understand and be educated with scientific evidence-based information to help you make informed choices. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But I just wanted to really acknowledge Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. That's all month. So blue, you see my blue? You see my blue bracelet? I am walking in the Zero Prostate Cancer Walk Run in Lincoln Park in Chicago. And events are happening all over the United States to remember how important it is to acknowledge prostate cancer and get screened, and all the people who have been affected by it. So, social media, we are out there on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on X, we're on LinkedIn. Welcome to our Kick viewers as well. If you are on X and you have a question, you can go to YouTube, you can go to StreamYard, you can go to LinkedIn, Facebook, and please post your questions there. We are always looking for followers on Facebook, because the more followers we have, the more we can do on Facebook. So if you are a follower on Facebook, follow us. Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy. Go to the website. On the website, there are 36 previous episodes, which is incredible. So there's 36 previous episodes with wonderful, amazing, knowledgeable guests that provide you the information you may need. You can look at all the previous episodes. You can watch any of them. You can watch them on YouTube and other things as well, but you can see them on the website. You can pull up the calendar and see all the excellent guests we have coming up through the end of the year. Very exciting. And you can pull up that calendar. Go to the website and find out more. You can listen to us in your car. You can, while you're working out, whatever you're doing. We are on your music streaming service, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. We're there with you. So don't forget us. Just want to take a moment to remind you, listeners, you are all welcome here. Whatever your sexual orientation, whatever your gender identity, whatever your relationship style, you are welcome here to learn. Last week, I introduced the power of gratitude. Gratitude research shows that practicing gratitude enhances mental and physical well being by increasing happiness, reducing stress, and improving sleep. It can also foster emotional resilience. Who doesn't need more of that? Lower cortisol levels, and it can improve cardiac functioning. I'm so grateful for so many things, but I am very grateful for you, especially for you listeners. Thank you for being here. Your presence is everything. You're the reason this podcast exists. What are you grateful for? I hope you've been tracking and thinking about what you're grateful for. Every day there's so much to be grateful for. So what's the goal of the podcast? Well, it's pretty simple. It is to empower and enlighten you with evidence-based scientific information to improve your sexual health and deepen your loving relationships. And that should help you live and love more fully. In this episode, we are going to explore the theme that is both deeply personal and universally relevant. Returning to our authentic selves to improve love and relationships. Many of us move through life wearing masks, shaped by expectations, past experiences, or fear of rejection. I don't know about you, but we all have that fear. Some people have social phobia, and I think we all feel challenged by some of those fears. But when we step into authenticity, when we show up with our truest selves, our capacity for connection, for intimacy, and love expands. Today, we'll be joined by psychiatrist Dr. Arnab Datta for a powerful conversation about how reconnecting with who we truly are can transform not only our relationship with others, but also relationships we hold with ourselves. I'm really excited about our guest tonight. Dr. Arnab Datta is a board-certified psychiatrist dedicated to helping individuals live fuller and more authentic lives. Wow, that's a great goal. With expertise spanning mental health, trauma, and the mind-body connection, Dr. Datta emphasizes the importance of aligning with our true selves to foster resilience, intimacy, and well-being. His clinical work and teaching focuses on guiding people to move past internalized shame, fear, and old narratives that keep them stuck so they can cultivate genuine self-acceptance and build deeper, more meaningful relationships. Compassionate and insightful, Dr. Datta empowers his patients and audiences alike to embrace vulnerability as the foundation of growth, healing, and love. Without further ado, I am so excited to welcome our guest this evening, and that is Dr. Arnab Datta. Welcome, Dr. Datta.
Hi, how are you, Jeff? Thanks for having me on.
I'm great. I'm so excited. I love this topic that we worked on together, and I'm so excited to hear what you have to say. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you. It's all you.
Thanks, Jeff. So the topic about being authentic, real with ourselves, it's really the main thing about how we love ourselves, our level of self-realization, and how we relate to others. And that's going to be a foundation of being in a loving relationship, whether it's with friends, colleagues, significant other. So say we are born to a mother and father, and we have a certain kind of life. And our authenticity dates back to that early foundational time, to those formative years. And we hope that the way we grow up, there's going to be positives and negatives, that we develop into healthy individuals, healthy, well-balanced individuals. But guess what? Life is not perfect. You know, there might be situations when we are not dealt a very good hand. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. You know, sometimes we are growing up and we find ourselves confused about who we are. Are we being real? Are we trying to be somebody else? Are we lying to ourselves? We find ourselves in a relationship and we start realizing this. Wow, people are saying, I'm not authentic or real. Oh, in a job, we are floundering sometimes, and we think, oh, so what's going on? This is not clicking the way I thought it was. And sometimes in a relationship, that or any kind of experience, something like that probably has happened to all of us. So what does that mean? Probably all of us have asked the question, who am I? Who am I really? It's a profound psychological, spiritual question. And this question has lasted for all of time, as long as we have human consciousness or consciousness in general. So what does this really mean? Who am I? Who am I really? Well, we are a combination of many things. Not sometimes, we are the product of our families, the product of our parents. So we share some genetics with our parents. So if you're ever in a psychiatrist or psychologist's or therapist's office, something that they do in the beginning, they gather a history. They learn about your life story. And if we are feeling depressed, anxious, if we are reminded of a bad experience, reminded of trauma somehow, having anxiety, we would go to some sort of a support system. Before the whole psychological system came, we would go to a support system. Sometimes that would be on the spiritual side, on the faith side. And that's happened for millennia. Sometimes it would be family. And it was back then and it is now, Sometimes it's the doctor. Sometimes it's the healer. There's various types of healers. And sometimes it's the psychologist. And sometimes it's the psychiatrist. And you should not be an island. No one deserves to be all by themselves. If we're all by themselves, it's kind of hard to have a sense of our authentic selves, because we end up feeling ourselves, who we are, what we're good at, our skills, in what situation we are strong, in what situation we need improvement. We need to bounce ideas off of society. So often when we are in society, in job, in relationship, we realize, hey, something ain't clicking. So don't be afraid to go to some sort of support system. It does not need to be a psychiatrist, does not to be a psychologist. I am Arnab Datta. I'm a medical doctor. I'm a psychiatrist who also provides psychotherapy. I do a lot of work in the addiction world as well. I am an addiction psychiatrist. And I have my own private practice. It's called Tresna Mental Health or Tresna Psychiatry. And I love getting to know people's stories. If someone comes to me for support, if I'm going to someone for support as well, the process is the same. I want to be able to talk about the story, talk about my narrative. That's how we get to our authentic self, reflection of who we are and where we came from in terms of how I think about it. If I'm sitting in a therapist's office or a healer's office, or in front of a family member, a wise family member who is able to look at things objectively, tell me the story. That's where it always starts. We will tell our version of the story. Everyone has a version, and other people may have different perspectives of our own story. Like your brother, your sister, your mother, your father might have slightly different interpretation. But it all starts with this humanistic story, the narrative, and the healer takes that in. As the healer is taking in the story, it depends how honest I am as I'm telling my healer the story. It's like I want to be sitting on a bench. It's just a metaphor. I want to be sitting on a bench. My healer is sitting next to me. And as I talk about my narrative, my story, my healer is painting a picture. They're painting a picture of my conscious mind, of my unconscious mind. And the skill of the healer is all about, excuse me, it's all about something called objective vision, or I call it the unconscious vision. The way they're able to see, listen very nicely, listen very deeply to the story, but also see the different layers. When I might be lying to myself, when I might want to be like somebody else. Now that there's positives and negatives to that. When I want to accomplish something, but I'm not quite there. When I'm hung up on something from the past, a trauma, and that is like an undercurrent pulling me back. The skill of the healer is in this listening, they're seeing both the conscious and unconscious mind. And it's good if the healer has had their own process like this, their own psychotherapy, where what it does for you is it helps you see where your own buttons are, so you can't be manipulated by somebody else. Still could happen sometimes. We're human at the end of the day. But doing the psychotherapy, the healer themselves becomes more objective. They start understanding, oh, this is my thing, and this is Arnab's thing. I'm going to give advice based on what is congruent for Arnab, what it's like for him to walk in his own shoes, not for me, because myself, a therapist, I had a different experience. So the skill of the therapist is there. They've got to be a little bit, they've got to be sorted out like 75%. Nobody's perfect. Even the healers have a lot of work to do. We are all students of our own self-realization, but you want them to be sorted enough to be able to help you, put their problems aside for a little while to help you objectively. So being authentic, don't be alone. Go to a healer. Go to a therapist of some sort. Okay? So tell your story. And it doesn't happen all at once. It takes any human being a little bit of time to really absorb your story, and that's another skill thing. Some people can have a vision and understand you more quicker, and other people a little bit longer, So every individual, this healer needs to develop this empathic quality to understand how you are feeling about certain things. So you end up telling your story. What happens in the cases of some trauma? Sometimes, if I had some trauma, I might be very afraid to talk about it. We classically hear that people are like, "Oh, I'm not ready to talk about that." Session goes by, 3 sessions, 4 sessions. I'm not ready to talk about it. The healer can recite something empathic. I know it was tough growing up without your mother, with your father, and your father would travel. You had to grow up fast in some of these situations. You went to a few different schools. You told me about this experience, and that experience must have been very tough for you. So as the healer helps connect some of the dots, reminds the person of how they are strong, and how it reminds them what they came to do the goal of the individual was to improve from this trauma, have some self-realization. So the level of empathy is there, the level of support is there. So don't do this by yourself. There's help out there. And when the person starts talking about it, one of the purposes of mental health is to listen, but to reframe the traumatic experience, because I'm having problems in my relationship, in my job, because I'm caught up in my funky trauma in the past. The healer will help reframe that, help reframe my cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions is one of the foundations of mental health. It's a thinking error. For example, I've got a lot of good qualities, but I might be focused on some of the negative things, focused on some of the negative things. Oh, my knee's been hurting. It's never going to get better. I'm getting older. I'm such a wreck. Or my hair's falling out. I'm hit a certain age. My hair's falling out. I'm no longer attractive anymore. You're losing track of positive qualities, magnifying the negative ones. So that's another one: minimization, magnification. Another cognitive distortion is future fortune telling. Man, things are not going so well for me right now. Man, life right now is I just got a lot of bad luck. This is the end. This is the end of my career. People might have negative fortune telling. Cognitive distortions. If we have an objective listener, they could tell us to wake up. Maybe not that directly, or they can be direct if you allow them to. Let someone else give you a different perspective, someone objective. someone who has that insight, someone who has had a level of self-realization already. Reframing. Reframe the picture. And then when you go home from my healing session, I want to journal that. Don't let your sessions, your therapy sessions, turn into the news going in one ear and out the other. I always like to journal what I've learned. Guess what? I'm going to forget. I'm going to go back to being my regular self after my therapy session. So I want to be able to read that journal. What did my therapist tell me? Interesting. I'm doing this magnification. I'm doing this catastrophizing. I'm doing this negative future fortune telling. Wow. I'm becoming all angry and reactive when one little thing doesn't go my way, you know? So it's very important to journal some of these things. Reframing. Meditation is also important. When you go to therapy or talk to a healer or a family member, it starts by you're playing mental hockey. You're talking about the problem in your head. Sure, you might have summoned the courage to talk about a trauma that was very difficult, or a depression, or an anxiety, or some sort of a failure. You talked about it. The reframing exercises happened in therapy. You go home, you journaled about it. Meditation is very important. In meditation, and meditation is like emotional and psychological weightlifting. Therapy is reframing. Meditation is to take the talk and to integrate it into the heart so it becomes second nature. A lot of people sometimes don't know that our heart and our mind and our emotions, this is the greatest instrument that we will have to play in life. And playing an instrument requires practice. So we need to practice what we learned in life, in relationship, in work, in therapy. We got to go home, journal that thing, meditate on it, you know? And I'm a big supporter of meditation. It's part of my Indian culture. I'm a big fan of the ideas of enlightenment and spirituality. And that's how my journey began. It was part of my history. And that's how I became interested in the field of psychology and the field of psychiatry. And I feel they are one and the same. You know, I feel like it all starts by understanding the human story, by offering some psychotherapy, which is still listening, and some reframing. And psychiatry, the way it comes in is there are medicines that can help with people's depression. There are some people who are clinically depressed. If the clinically depressed, clinically anxious, people with diagnosed PTSD, they may do a lot. They may go into therapy for 5 years. They may be very sincere about it. Some of them will break through, some of them won't. If you take a medicine, you can be knocking on that door of breakthrough for 5 years. But with a medicine, you can break through in a shorter amount of time. You might have a breakthrough in 6 months. You might have a breakthrough in a year. A lot of people in the holistic lifestyle are afraid of medicine because there's a lot of people who are misdiagnosed, a lot of people who are misprescribed. There's an epidemic of overprescribing of certain medications going on. People are spooked about that because they don't have the medical knowledge, you know? But medicines can be used to help people with clinical depression, clinical anxiety, PTSD. It has been very helpful for a lot of people. Then again, medicine is not for everybody. Some people can do psychotherapy, meditation, to understand where they're getting hung up. This is very important in finding our authentic self. And when we do that, we feel lighter, we feel happier, we are able to make friends, we are able to sustain our relationships. So that has been my experience in what is the authentic self is all about. Combination of not being alone, telling our story, having a wise healer or some sort of a provider, therapist, doctor, psychiatrist, what have you, listen to you, provide some reframing. Look at it have you thought about it in this way? Meditate ourselves, going home, meditating on it, because we are more important. Our own meditation, the work I do at home after my therapy is the most important thing for me to change my life, for me to understand who I am authentically. I must do the work. I must do the meditation. I must not allow my healer's advice to go in one ear and out the other. I must do something about it. You know, I'm the only one who can save the day for myself. You know, that is a winning mentality. You know, some of us may unconsciously feel that someone's going to come save the day. It is an empowering feeling that no, I must do this for myself. I must pick myself up. It's a very positive, empowering thing that helps people go from some state to a more authentic state. And don't be afraid if some of us have a, you know, if some of us have already lived life a great deal and we are still feeling inauthentic in some places, not to worry, because you can't be 100%, you know, perfection like that doesn't really exist. You know, humanity is imperfect in so many ways, and kind of being okay with that is beautiful. You know, kind of being okay with the, you say, the karmic mosaic or tapestry of the universe that's so difficult for the human mind to understand. We might see what happens in the world as chaos. Is there an order to it? I don't know. My mind can't wrap around that. But and the authenticity is a lot like that. You know, being okay with most of it. You know, so it's okay. You know, forgive yourself, let yourself off the hook a little bit. It's okay to lighten up if we don't have everything figured out. And something that helps very much is having a good process. My life, I might be in trouble right now, but I trust my process. My work ethic. I have accomplished things in the past, and I know that I did some good things that could get me through this too. Am I going to get through this successfully? I don't know. And it's pretty scary. But I did some things that were good. I'm going to stick to my work ethic, my process. That could give you faith in your therapeutic experience as you're getting through a challenge and you feel, man, I'm not even real with myself. Well, guess what? Sometimes the healer feels that way too. You know, it's a journey for them too. So these are some of the fundamentals of finding the authentic self. Having a better relationship with yourself will help you have a better relationship with others. It's integral to relationships. I do a lot of work with the LGBTQ plus community as well. And it is the same. Human beings are the same. Different cultures, different religions, different time periods, whether you're born in the 50s or born in the 2000s. Human beings have emotions that kind of work similarly. There's similar patterns in humanity. You know, whether you're a boomer, whether you're a millennial, you know, Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, emotionality of the human being, there's very, very common patterns. What kind of technology exists now, what didn't exist back then, human emotion develops similarly, and there's some differences to it. But this art of listening, anyone can do it. And the more practice you have listening to people, that's how healers become more objective. They have that vision into the conscious mind, the unconscious mind. You know? And in relationships, now there's two people. Your partner is on their journey too. You know, whoever you're in a relationship with, whatever your relationship status is, there's a saying, when you get with another person, there's four people getting together. There's the two physical people that you see, and then there's the inner child within themselves. There is the developing person within themselves. There's who they think they are, who the other person think there is, who the other person thinks that person is. So there's this very abstract, you know, metaphysical phenomenon that's going on in human development within every one of us. Not everything is as we see. You know, the person is developed from somewhere. Certain parts of them are authentic, certain parts are not. that's okay. And maybe some of it is not okay, you know? But going to a healer, there's no shame in that. It's very strong. Self-reflection is scary. So, Jeff, how does that sound?
That sounds great. So many good pearls and words of wisdom, and I agree with so many things you said. But I think that theme that it's so interesting. You, just like me in your work, everyone who walks through the door has a story. That's what's so amazing and miraculous about the work we get to do, because everybody has a story. And I think everybody has a right to tell that story, and it can be a real privilege to be a part of that story and that journey. And I think every person that we meet universally wants to be seen and heard and valued and know that they have worth. And so I think it's really important. If we really show up with our authentic selves, we can also listen, hear, and be a part of that other person's journey in our relationships. So I think you brought up so many incredibly important points, but I do think that universal theory that we all have a story, we all want to be seen, heard, and valued is so important for listeners to remember. Sometimes you have to be a little choosy of who has earned the right to be a part of your story and your journey. So disclosure can be a little bit challenging sometimes, but I think also secrecy, it really festers inside of you. And so finding the right people to be a part of your story and hear your story, professional and friends, is really an important thing. What do you think?
I totally agree. It starts with the story and
Mm.
who we entrust with that story, who we entrust to help us.
Mm-hmm. But you might think, well, we have it all together because we see patients and we all do all this stuff. But all of us inherently feel, are we enough? What if I really do show up and they don't like me? So we all struggle with that. You're not alone. But I think, as you said, all of the great spiritual leaders, all of the great yogis have posed that question that we put to ourselves: Who am I? Who am I? Who is my true self? If we get past the 1,000 layers of stuff that has been put upon that amazing child who came into the world, that amazing soul and being who exists, who's under there? That being is beautiful, peaceful, and miraculous. And I think discovering that in each of ourselves is such an important thing. And then when we have the privilege, like I have had with my wife of 40 years, to explore that with another person and discover as well how we are so fundamentally alike, all of us, that we are connected, just like the trees and the roots of the trees and the earth are connected. We are connected to the earth and each other deeply, and we share more in common than we have differences in the end.
Beautiful, Jeff.
So I was thinking too, so I really like everything that you guided people towards. I have a couple questions that came through. The first one is here. I've spent so many years trying to be who I thought my partner wanted me to be. So how do I start reconnecting with my authentic self without feeling like I'm letting my partner down, letting them down?
What a timeless question.
Mm.
Look at the noble, the humble gesture. You were being the person who your partner wanted you to be. Look at the beauty, look at the humility, look at the love that you had. There's a lot of positivity to that. When two people get together, there's the other person wants something from the partner, verbalized or not verbalized. We may pick up on that. We may automatically do that, or we might not. It is a positive thing that you did. Now, I don't know what it is that you did, okay? But whether that was positive or negative or somewhere in the middle, now you're looking for, who am I? We all come back to that amazing question. Who am I? You have been doing it all along. For you to do something that your partner wanted, you had to jump off some sort of a solid ground. There are some times when people do not have a solid ground also. People who have complex trauma, certain personality traits, certain difficulties with addictions, neurodivergent. There are people who are not having solid ground, but they gravitate towards some place. So coming back to this beautiful question, who am I?
Mm.
You don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that's where your unique, beautiful story comes into play. Selecting someone to talk to. You don't need to do it by yourself. Seeing if that person is really clicking with you and understanding you, so that you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because you probably did a lot of good work already. You probably, you want to see where you were inauthentic possibly before. That is a very skilled demarcation to make. Hard to do, hard for a person to do, hard for the therapist, tough for the therapist to select. And that's the key. That's the skill of that treatment. So I don't throw out all the hard work that I did so I could continue to add to the authenticity. Where to do that and how to get closer to the authenticity without getting rid of the good stuff that you've done over the years.
Definitely. I think that's so true. Sometimes we're our harshest critic, that voice in our head. I always say, if we talk to someone else the way the voice in our head speaks, we would say that's abusive. You can't talk to somebody that way. Sometimes we're just very harsh on ourselves. And I love that you see in that listener's question the great work they've done, and don't throw that out. Build upon it. Beautiful. The next question. What role does vulnerability play in living authentically? And how can I share more of my real self without fear of rejection?
There's always fear of rejection.
Mm.
The things we don't know. If I'm vulnerable, I don't know if someone's going to use that to take advantage. So always selecting who we talk to, selecting when it's a vulnerability I want to share. I want to be very careful. I want to be a good judge of character. They don't use it against me. The world is not so nice sometimes. We may think we are going to a nice place. May not be so. Unfortunate truth of life. So selecting that person, good. Sharing the vulnerability, very important. Even if you are a very strong person, strong people have vulnerabilities too. And they want to share. They have doubts as well. You see the most confident person out there, I guarantee you they've got doubts. I guarantee you that they haven't figured out certain things about themselves,
Definitely.
So being able to do that is a tough thing. And then working on it is a process. It's definitely a climb. It's definitely a mental workout. But working through one's vulnerabilities is definitely a worthwhile thing. It's scary. You are telling someone time when you doubted yourself, when something good did not happen to you, and it stays with you. Going home, doing the journaling and the reframing, doing the meditation. I think surrender meditations are very important. Meditations where we can let go. Practicing that. Practicing the instrument that is our own heart and mind. No matter what kind of healing you're doing, you'll always end up coming back to this fundamental.
Definitely. And I would point listeners to one of my favorite researchers in the world, Brene Brown, and she is a vulnerability researcher, and her body of work is powerful. And she has a lot of great books out there to help, and even courses that can help as well while you're working with a therapist, or if you're working with a therapist. I found in my own journey, the gifts of imperfection and some of her things to be very, very empowering and helpful. Vulnerability is a tricky thing. But vulnerability is the only, if you numb yourself, you can't selectively numb. You can't numb this part, the sadness, the hurt, the pain, without numbing the love, the passion, the creativity. It's the only path to intimacy. So vulnerability is the way, but it's scary, folks. I totally get that it's scary. It scares me a lot too. And actually, in Dr. Brene Brown's work, she said one of the most vulnerable things is sex, asking for or participating in intimacy and sex. And I do think that there's a lot of vulnerability, especially around intimacy. But then the connection that comes with feeling seen, heard, and valued in a truly intimate relationship without being judged, it's powerful and it's worth the work for sure. One more question. Sometimes I don't even know what's really me versus what I've learned from my family or society. How can I begin to tell the difference?
Great question. I can use a personal example here. I'm Indian. I was born in India, moved to Chicago when I was 5 years old, grew up in Chicago.
Mm.
Okay. Large part of the Indian culture is family values, you know? And something that we are taught is the way our parents did things,
Mm.
you know? And throughout my generation, you know, growing up in the States, there's different, times when when an immigrant can come to a new country. This doesn't have to be just with Indian people. It can be with other cultural denominations as well, similar phenomenon. You learn a value system that is from your family, from your mother, from your father. This is human nature. Some tradition is handed down. The way you do certain things is handed down. Okay. And when you're a child, you're like a sponge. The nervous system, the personality is absorbing what's around them, the family, the parents. And there's some people where they remain similar
Mm.
to their parents. And it's a very natural thing. But then our environment plays a role, who your friends are, people, places, and things, where you go to school, who you're hanging out with, what are you watching on TV, on the internet, you know? It starts playing a role. People's environment is huge, plays a huge difference. So as you're going through life, you come from a certain background, culture, certain part of the world, you have an environment, and then something starts happening. You start bumping into a wall. Something is not right. You have problems in life, you know? And that's when people start thinking, if everything was smooth, you wouldn't think to take a look at identity, vulnerability, authenticity. But that's when you go back to the story. You start mapping out the story. Where did I come from? What's my history?
Mm-hmm.
What experiences did I have that changed? I got this from family, got this from culture, from ancestry.
Mm.
But then how did I get to this point? You start mapping that out. That's meditation in and of itself.
Mm.
Presenting that to somebody, to a healer of some sort. Hopefully they have the insight and the objective vision to help you navigate it. That's another thing about the skill of the therapist. I'll share some inside information with you. A lot of therapists are taught not to give direct advice. A lot of therapists are taught to sort of give you a type of feedback where you can find answers for yourself. You see types of therapists and what they do can vary. There's nothing wrong with that original traditional way of therapy. It's helped a lot of people. It's very proven. There are also therapists who will be more direct with you.
Mm.
You know, so it's there are some therapists who believe that you could be, with the proper boundaries, you could be the doctor. You could be like a friend, because sometimes the friend says, you know what's wrong with you? This and this and this. Somebody should tell you that. And you know what? It's going to be me, because I know you and I love you, but you drive me crazy sometimes. How profound is that for us to hear? We might get very angry at them, right? But we remember that. There's types of psychotherapy that's actually where they talk about that kind of psychotherapy. There's types of couples therapy that is more direct, like that too. It's not traditionally used in psychiatry or psychotherapy, but talking to someone about what you learned, mapping out that story, don't do it alone. Do that with somebody. That's how it can be more efficient about what lessons you learn from certain places, if it's really congruent to you or it doesn't serve you.
Mhm.
And then you meditate, practice the practice of meditation to surrender some of the things that don't agree with you.
Definitely. Excellent, excellent. Absolutely. Because and two, sometimes things like I know some of my trauma patients, certainly dissociation, not being present in a traumatic thing, served them well during the trauma, but now they want to be fully present. So that's just one example of something you may work with in therapy to try to, it no longer serves you. How do you release that? So I think that's some really, really good advice. And thank you for those excellent answers to the questions. Really good stuff. So many good pearls this evening from you. And I really appreciate that. And you are in for a super amazing treat tonight, listeners, because every week we bring you back to a centering exercise, which brings you back to yourself and brings you back within yourself. And I guide you through that each week. But this week, our special guest is going to guide you through that meditation himself. I am so excited to have him do that. So I'm going to turn things over to him for that meditation and centering right now.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for this opportunity. And I'm here providing knowledge, providing education. None of this is considered to be treatment. One of my favorite meditations is a surrender meditation. Say that I've just gone to therapy. Say that I've talked to my parents. Say that I've gone to a healer and they gave me some news. Allow me to guide you through a meditation so you have an idea what a surrender meditation can feel like. Sit comfortably. It can be on the chair. It can be on the couch. It can be on the floor. Your back can be rested, but your back should be erect and straight. If there's no backrest, keep your back nice and straight as best you can. Deep breath in with the nose, out with the mouth. Really get into the feeling, the bodily feeling. In with the nose, out with the mouth. And once more, in with the nose, out with the mouth. And breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. And continue on your own. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. And continue. Keeping the eyes closed, allow me to guide you through this meditation. And breathe with this box breath rhythm as best as you can. This is our fundamental box breathing. Really feel it in your body. This is a very somatic exercise. Feel the air entering. How refreshing that is, filling your lungs. The hold, the suffocation of the hold, and the relaxing release. And the weightless feeling of the hold. And again, at your rhythm, really feel how the air enters your body, oxygenating in the lungs, into the blood vessels, the hold, the carbon dioxide being pushed out, and the hold. Meditation is about forgetting that you were worried. The waves of the ocean will always be chaotic. You don't know which direction the wind will move the water. Life will be chaotic and unpredictable. You need to take a break from life. Come back home. Come back to your center to meditate. Do some box breathing. And you will go deeper and deeper into this ocean of consciousness. This is an inbuilt system in any human being, their consciousness. Do this to escape from the ocean and the chaotic surface and sink deeper and deeper into your own consciousness. This endless, deep ocean of consciousness. Continue breathing. Find a weight, keeping the eyes closed. Find a weight that is weighing you down. Could be anything, anyone, any place, any time, any memory. Find a weight that's weighing you down. Keeping the eyes closed, keeping the attention inside. What is it? Take a minute to identify it. What is it? Where did it come from? Is it really that bad? Find the weight. Continuing to breathe and hold. I want you to imagine that this weight is dissolving. You are seeing it, where it came from. It has a story. It came from a place. It developed in a certain way. You can do this by yourself, or a healer can help you identify this weight. As you identify it, the real things become real and the false things dissolve. The false things always dissolve if you allow it to. The false things don't have to solidify. They solidify if you give it more fuel. The things that grow in our mind are the things that we give more fuel. We feed it. So this weight, identify it. Once you know what it is, see it dissolve. Imagine that it is dissolving. It may take time, but you're imagining it dissolve. With each breath, you're exhaling this from your body. It is leaving you slowly but slowly. This weight is leaving you. Continuing to breathe. It is leaving you. You're identifying it. What is you? What is not you? It is a hard thing to do. It's a tough thing to do, but we must do it. It is leaving you per breath. You're breathing in the oxygen, the vitality. Hold. And releasing the toxicity. You are releasing. You are always releasing something. You are releasing this weight. You are whittling it down slowly, 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 slowly. Until one day, very little exists. Very little or nothing. Continue to breathe. Hold. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. And in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. And out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. And continue. You are lighter. There is a semblance of a weight that has been slightly removed. It's been slightly removed already by this simple, childlike imagination. There's nothing to it. There's nothing to this imagination. Anybody can imagine like this. We've taken a break from our day-to-day life. We've gone within the consciousness. When you are ready, I want you to touch your shoulders, part of your body like this. We're becoming aware of the body because we just took a journey inside. You could move your body a little bit. When you're ready, you can open the eyes.
Namaste. Beautiful. Loved it. It was excellent. And so I thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom. This has just been a great episode, and you've given us a lot to digest and think about tonight about our authentic self. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I'm going, before we close out, Vic, can we give them a little sneak peek at what's up next week?
In this passionate and thought-provoking episode, Dr. Jeff is joined by Dr. John F. Potts, family medicine physician in urology and devoted tango enthusiast, to uncover how the art of Argentine tango mirrors the dynamics of love, intimacy, and connection. They show how tango is more than a dance. It's a metaphor for trust, vulnerability, and the give and take of relationships with insights from Dr. Potts' clinical expertise. And life on the dance floor. Join us on September 23rd at 7 p.m. Central Time to learn more.
Vic, you are incredible. Nice. He's been playing our stuff to music. It's incredible.
Nice.
Should be very interesting. Dr. Potts wrote a great book that I have that I really enjoyed, and she's a colleague and friend of mine. I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say. But this evening, wow, such good insights on the authentic self and showing up, and just really finding our true, beautiful spirit that lives inside of each of us. I know some of my favorite resources. I love Master Eckhart Tolle and A New Earth and some of his insights. I love Deepak Chopra. I have his meditations and use them regularly as well. Richard Rohr has a lot of really interesting things to talk about in terms of the true diamond or the original self as well. Do you have any particular resources or people that you find especially helpful in your journey?
Yeah. In the couples therapy, the Gottman Institute is great, fundamental. Everyone has probably seen slides on Instagram about Gottman Institute. The 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse is the classic quintessential Gottman Institute slide, the 4 things that hurt a relationship. Ackerman Institute, New York City. This is another great school of thought in couples therapy. And a lot of people like the work of Esther Perel as well. She talks about a lot of traditional relationships, non-traditional relationships, modern relationships. Some of these are the resources that come to mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Relationships. Yeah.
I did Gottman training myself, and that's was the couple training that I did. And really, we've presented some of that on the podcast, and we'll do more because there's so much good stuff from them and the others. And Esther Perel, she's awesome. I have her book that she signed for me, and have enjoyed what she has to say. She wrote, one of her books is Mating in Captivity, but a lot of good books. So much good information tonight. I hope that you've all have enjoyed it and learned a lot. Remember, you are enough, you are worthy, your true authentic self is beautiful and miraculous and inherently connected to everything around you. It's a wonderful thing to discover. So thank you for helping us to think about and discover more of that beautiful self tonight, Dr. Datta. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for being with us. And thank you, listeners. We appreciate you being here.
As Dr. Jeff talks about sex